The slap echoed through the open office like a gunshot. My cheek burned, but the silence afterward hurt worse. 63 pairs of eyes locked onto me. Matteo Bennett, the man whose wife just humiliated him at his own workplace. Tears streamed down Lacey's face, but they weren't tears of hurt. They were rage. "You selfish bastard," she hissed. 7 years I've supported your broke ass, and this is how you repay me. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Third time in 10 minutes. I ignored it. Around us, my co-workers pretended to focus on their computer screens, but I could feel their stares burning into my skin. "Lacey, can we please?" Another slap. This one harder. "Don't you Lacey me. I'm done. You hear me? Done." She threw a manila envelope at my chest. Papers scattered across the industrial carpet. Divorce papers, I realized. My supervisor, Janet, rushed over. "I'm going to need you to leave the premises." But Lacey wasn't finished. She grabbed my coffee mug, the one that said "World's Best Husband" that she'd given me 3 Christmases ago, and threw it against the wall. Brown liquid splattered across the white paint. 7 years, she screamed. 7 years of your empty promises about starting a business. Your stupid apps that went nowhere. Your investments that lost money. My phone buzzed again. I finally pulled it out, hands shaking. The screen lit up with notifications. So many notifications. The first one made my heart stop. Wire transfer confirmed, $8 billion. I stared at the screen, convinced I was having a stroke. $8 billion. The numbers didn't make sense. My brain couldn't process them. Meanwhile, Lacey was still ranting. Look at him, checking his phone while I'm leaving him. Typical Matteo. Always distracted. Always chasing some fantasy instead of living in reality. Security arrived. 2 guards I knew from the break room. Mike and Dennis. They looked uncomfortable. "Sir, we need to escort your guest out," Mike said quietly. Lacey yanked her arm away. "I'm leaving. But first, everyone needs to know who Matteo really is. A dreamer. A failure. A man who chose some stupid startup over his wife." She pointed at me like I was diseased. I supported him through business school. Through 3 failed ventures. Through maxed out credit cards and borrowed money from my mother. And what did I get? Nothing. The divorce papers lay scattered at my feet. I bent to pick them up, still clutching my phone. Another notification buzzed. "Congratulations on your successful exit. Tetrasoft acquisition complete." My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped everything. Tetrasoft. The tech company had bought my AI security software, Code Shield, the program I'd spent 4 years developing in our garage while Lacey complained about the electricity bills. "You know what?" Lacey's voice cracked. "I've met someone else. Someone with ambition. Someone who doesn't waste time on pipe dreams." The office collectively gasped. My chest tightened. Jacob treats me like a queen. He's a real man with real money. The name hit me like a third slap. Jacob. Jacob Garrison. My former best friend since college. The man who'd been at our wedding, who'd given the toast, who'd slept on our couch during his divorce last year. My vision blurred. Not from tears, from pure, cold rage. "How long?" I asked quietly. The office was so silent I could hear the air conditioning humming. Lacey lifted her chin defiantly. "Does it matter?" "How long?" My voice came out strangled. She smirked. That expression, God, I'd never seen her look so cruel. 6 months. Since your birthday party, if you must know. While you were in the garage working, he was there for me. Present. Attentive. Successful. My birthday party. I remembered Jacob showing up with expensive wine, making Lacey laugh. I'd been grateful someone was keeping her entertained while I coded through the night, racing to meet Tetrasoft's technical review deadline. "You're pathetic," Lacey continued. "Jacob makes 6 figures selling medical equipment. Real money. Not your fantasy stock options and equity that'll never materialize." She didn't know. None of them knew. The acquisition had been confidential, signed under an NDA just last week. Tetrasoft's lawyers had contacted me 3 months ago. Secret negotiations. Background checks. Technical audits. The final payment, scheduled for this morning at 9 a.m., had cleared while I was grabbing coffee. Janet touched my shoulder gently. "Matteo, why don't you take the day off?" I nodded numbly. My phone buzzed again. My lawyer. "Congratulations, Matteo. Payment confirmed. We need to discuss wealth management." I walked to my car in a daze. Behind me, I could hear the office erupting in gossip. By lunch, everyone in the building would know Matteo Bennett's wife had slapped him, announced her affair, and served him divorce papers in the same 15-minute span. Perfect. Just perfect. I sat in my Honda Civic, 8 years old, 143,000 miles, a broken AC, and finally let myself look at my phone properly. 73 notifications. My banking app showed an account balance I couldn't conceptualize. $8 billion. After taxes and Tetrasoft's initial payment structure, I'd received 40% upfront. The rest would come in installments over 3 years. But 40% of $8 billion was still $3.2 billion. Enough to change everything. Enough to never work again. Enough to make Lacey's betrayal feel like a blessing in disguise. I called my lawyer, Henry Ogala. He answered on the first ring. "Matteo. Congratulations, you magnificent bastard. How does it feel to be a billionaire?" My voice came out hollow. "Lacey just served me divorce papers." Silence. Then Henry started laughing. Deep, genuine laughter. "You're joking." Happened 20 minutes ago. In my office. In front of everyone. "Matteo, buddy, I need you to listen carefully. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. Don't even respond to her. Virginia is an equitable distribution state, but you're not married long enough for her to claim much. Plus, the acquisition closed this morning, technically after the divorce petition was filed, if the timestamps work in our favor." My head spun. "Henry, she's been cheating on me with Jacob Garrison for 6 months." Henry went quiet. Professional quiet. "Jacob Garrison? Your friend? The guy who came to my office with you last year to notarize those documents?" "The same." More silence. I could hear him typing furiously. "Matteo, this is important. Do you have proof of the affair?" I thought back. 6 months. Birthday party. Had I seen anything concrete? Nothing physical. But she just announced it in front of 60 witnesses. Good. That's good. Listen, Virginia doesn't really care about adultery for property division anymore, but it matters for spousal support. She humiliated you publicly and admitted to an affair. That's leverage. I started the car. The engine coughed twice before turning over. What do I do now? Go home. Pack her important stuff. Don't touch it. Just put it aside. Change the locks. It's your house, right? Only your name on the deed. Right. Her credit was too bad when we bought it. I'd purchased our 3-bedroom townhouse in Richmond 6 years ago, before we married. Lacey had moved in afterward. Legally, entirely mine. Perfect. Change the locks today. Then come to my office tomorrow morning. We'll file a counterpetition and go over strategy. And Matteo, don't tell anyone about the money yet. Not family. Not friends. Nobody. I drove home on autopilot, my mind replaying the morning. Lacey's hand connecting with my face. Her words, 7 years of your empty promises. The divorce papers fluttering to the ground. Jacob's name falling from her lips like a curse. My phone kept buzzing. News alerts. Probably. Tetrasoft had announced the acquisition publicly at 10 a.m. Business reporters were covering it. The townhouse felt different when I walked in. Smaller. Lacey's presence had dominated this space, her shoes by the door, her jackets on the hooks, her expensive candles on every surface. I'd paid for all of it while she complained about my obsession with Code Shield. Now, knowing she'd been with Jacob, I saw everything differently. The new lingerie in the bathroom drawer. The suddenly busy Thursday evenings. The way she'd stopped asking about my work 6 months ago, right when Tetrasoft first contacted me. I called a locksmith. 20 minutes, he said. Then I started gathering Lacey's belongings carefully. Photo albums, her family, not mine. Jewelry, gifts from her grandmother. Clothes. Toiletries. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't petty. I was methodical. Everything went into boxes in the garage, organized and labeled. As I worked, my phone rang. Unknown number. Matteo Bennett speaking. Mr. Bennett, this is Veronica Chen from Bloomberg. We're doing a feature on the Tetrasoft acquisition. Code Shield's security architecture is revolutionary. At only 32, you're one of the youngest black tech entrepreneurs to achieve this level. I hung up. Too much. Too fast. My hands were shaking again. I'd built Code Shield from nothing. 4 years of 18-hour days. Countless failures. Lacey had watched me struggle, had told me repeatedly to get a real job, had threatened to leave a dozen times. And I'd persisted anyway, believing in the technology. Believing it would work. The locksmith arrived at noon. New locks, new keys. 3 copies, 1 for me, 2 for my lawyer. I texted Lacey, your belongings are in the garage. Locks changed. All communication through attorneys. Her response came within seconds. A tirade. 17 text messages in 2 minutes, each one angrier than the last. You can't lock me out of MY house. I have rights. This is illegal. Jacob says you're breaking the law. I'm calling the cops. The last message made me smile grimly. Call them. Let them explain that the house was solely mine, that changing locks was completely legal, that she had no tenant rights after serving divorce papers herself. My phone rang. Jacob. I answered. Yeah. His voice was smooth, confident. The same voice that had talked me through my father's funeral, that had celebrated my wedding day, that had promised to always have my back. Matteo, man, we need to talk. Really? About what? How you've been sleeping with my wife for 6 months. Silence. Different from Henry's professional silence. This was caught off guard silence. It's not what you think. She announced it in my office this morning, Jacob. In front of everyone. Pretty sure it's exactly what I think. He sighed. Look, it just happened. Lacey was lonely. You were always working. We connected. Sometimes these things don't. My voice cut like glass. Don't you dare rationalize this. I'm just saying, you neglected her. What did you expect? The words punched through me. Not because they hurt, but because they revealed who Jacob really was. A man who blamed his betrayal on my work ethic. A man who'd systematically destroyed my marriage while pretending to be my friend. You know what's funny? I kept my tone light. Really funny. What? Timing. That's what's funny. What are you talking about? Jacob sounded irritated now. I could picture him, probably at Lacey's side, probably in his overpriced condo, probably feeling justified in his choices. This morning, when Lacey slapped me and served divorce papers, do you know what was happening? Matteo, I don't have time for $8 billion, Jacob. That's what was happening. Tetrasoft bought Code Shield this morning for $8 billion. The line went dead silent. Not dropped call silent. Shocked speechless silent. I continued, letting each word land like a hammer. While Lacey was screaming about my empty promises and failed ventures, my phone was buzzing with alerts that $3.2 billion had just cleared into my account. Billion. With a B. You're lying. His voice cracked. Check Bloomberg. Check TechCrunch. Check any business news site. It's public information now. Tetrasoft announced the acquisition at 10 a.m. Bought Code Shield, my stupid garage project that Lacey mocked for 4 years, for $8 billion. Making me personally worth about $4 billion after taxes and equity structure. I heard muffled sounds. Jacob talking to someone. Lacey. Probably. Panic in their voices. Matteo, man, listen. No, you listen. Lacey filed for divorce this morning. Perfect timing, right? Filed before the acquisition was public. Which means legally, she has no claim to any of that money. Her affair, which you both so helpfully announced publicly, means she probably won't get spousal support either. So congratulations, Jacob. You got yourself a woman with no money, no prospects, and a reputation for cheating on her husband. I hung up. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I felt cold. Clear. Focused. The doorbell rang an hour later. I checked the security camera. Lacey, Jacob, and an older woman I recognized as Lacey's mother, Amelia. Perfect. I opened the door but left the chain on. Yes. Lacey's eyes were red and swollen. Different tears now. Desperate tears. Baby, we need to talk. No, we don't. Talk to my lawyer. Matteo, please. I made a mistake. I was confused. The stress of having an affair for 6 months. Amelia pushed forward. She'd never liked me, always thought Lacey had married down. Young man, you will let my daughter into her home. It's not her home. It's my home. Only my name on the deed. And she filed for divorce this morning, so she has no legal right to enter. Jacob stepped up, chest puffed. Don't be difficult, Matteo. We can work this out like adults. I almost laughed. Adults? You want to talk about being adults? Adults don't sleep with their best friend's wife. Adults don't file for divorce and then try to reconcile 3 hours later when they learn about money. Lacey's face crumpled. You would have told me about the money if you loved me. The audacity. The sheer audacity of that statement. I signed an NDA 3 months ago, Lacey. Non-disclosure agreement. I legally couldn't tell anyone until the acquisition was public. And by the way, during those 3 months, while I was working on the biggest deal of my life, you were in bed with Jacob. Amelia gasped. Lacey Marie, is that true? Lacey ignored her mother. Matteo, I'm sorry. I really am. Can't we start over? Forget the divorce papers. We can go to counseling. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time all day. Lacey Keegan, soon to be Lacey Bennett no longer. The woman I'd loved since college. The woman who'd stood beside me through business school, through my father's death, through the early struggles of entrepreneurship. But that woman had disappeared 6 months ago, replaced by someone who'd chosen comfort over loyalty, money over love, betrayal over truth. No, I said simply. Her face twisted. The desperate sadness transformed into something uglier. You bastard. You knew, didn't you? You knew about the money this morning and you let me make a fool of myself. I knew for exactly 5 seconds before you threw the divorce papers at me. Want to check the timestamps? The wire transfer confirmed at 9:43 a.m. You slapped me at 9:45. So no, Lacey, I didn't know. But I'm glad it happened this way. Jacob grabbed her arm. Come on. He's not worth it. I smiled. Not a nice smile. Jacob, quick question. What's your annual salary? 6 figures, right? Lacey mentioned that. Let's say you make $200,000 a year. That's impressive. Really. But I made more than that this morning while I was drinking coffee. About $16 million per hour, actually, if you break down the payment over 8 working hours. His face went purple. You arrogant. Not arrogant. Just mathematical. See, you took my wife because you thought you were the better man. The successful one. The one with real money. But it turns out, I'm worth about 20,000 of you. Literally. I could buy and sell you 20,000 times over. Lacey lurched forward, but the chain held. I hate you. No, you don't. You hate that you left me right before I became a billionaire. You hate that you chose Jacob's six-figure salary over my potential. You hate that your timing was catastrophically bad. But you don't hate me. You hate yourself. I closed the door. Their voices rose outside, arguing, crying, threatening. I didn't care. My phone buzzed. Henry, news crews are heading to your location. Bloomberg leaked your address. Get out now. I grabbed my keys and wallet, slipped out the back door, and drove to the Hilton downtown. Checked in under my mother's maiden name, Carter. The news was everywhere. Young entrepreneur sells AI company for billions. Code Shield acquisition marks largest tech deal of the year. Matteo Bennett, from garage to glory. My phone exploded with calls. My mother. My sister. My college roommate. People I hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone suddenly interested in Matteo Bennett's life. I turned it off. Sat in the hotel room darkness. Thought about the morning. Lacey's hand on my face. The divorce papers. The cold reality of betrayal. But also, the money. The freedom. The vindication of every 18-hour day. Every maxed credit card. Every fight about electricity bills. I'd been right. The dream hadn't been a fantasy. The sacrifice had been worth it. Around 8 p.m., I turned my phone back on. 186 missed calls. 412 text messages. But one voicemail made me pause. My younger sister, Zelda. Matteo, I'm so sorry about Lacey. But I'm proud of you. You never gave up. Call me when you're ready. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Lacey hired an aggressive attorney, Franklin Pierce, known for bleeding wealthy clients dry. They argued she deserved half of everything, claiming Code Shield was developed during the marriage, using marital assets. Henry demolished them. He presented timestamps showing the acquisition closed after divorce papers were filed. He showed receipts proving I'd used my own credit, my own money, my own resources. He had security footage from my office showing Lacey publicly announcing her affair. Witnesses testified about her slapping me. The judge was a 60-year-old black woman named Harriet Monroe. She'd built her career in family law, had seen every trick, every manipulation, every gold digger play in the book. Mrs. Bennett, Judge Monroe said during our second hearing, you filed for divorce on the morning of June 15th at 8:35, correct? Lacey's lawyer stood. Yes, Your Honor. My client had endured years of neglect and emotional absence. I see. And Mr. Bennett's acquisition closed when? 9:43 a.m. the same day, Henry answered. 8 minutes after Mrs. Bennett publicly assaulted Mr. Bennett at his workplace and announced an affair with his former best friend. Judge Monroe studied the documents. Mrs. Bennett, you're claiming entitlement to assets that became available after you initiated divorce proceedings. Lacey started crying. The same manipulation that had worked on me for 7 years. Your Honor, I supported him through everything. I deserve something for my sacrifice. You deserve what the law allows. Which, given the timeline and your admitted adultery, is very little. Petition for spousal support denied. Asset division will reflect premarital property laws. 6 months later, I stood in my new penthouse overlooking the Henry River. Lacey had received $50,000, a courtesy settlement Henry advised against, but I'd insisted. Not out of love. Out of closure. She'd moved to Atlanta with Jacob. Last I heard, they were struggling. His medical device job had downsized. She was working retail. The universe had a sense of humor. My mother visited weekly. Zelda had quit her job to help manage my charitable foundation, Bennett Foundation for STEM Education. We'd funded scholarships for 500 students. Built 3 community computer labs. Started a mentorship program for aspiring black entrepreneurs. Code Shield had changed everything. Not just my bank account. My purpose. My legacy. The slap that echoed through my office that morning had become the starting point of my real life. The divorce papers scattered on the carpet had been my liberation. I'd learned something valuable. Betrayal only destroys you if you let it. Instead, I'd let it fuel me, transform me. I dated occasionally. Good women. Real women. Who liked Matteo for Matteo, not for billions. Who understood ambition and sacrifice. Who'd been there before the money. And sometimes, late at night, I'd remember Lace's face when she realized what she'd lost. Not with satisfaction. Not with revenge. Just with understanding. She'd made her choice. I'd made mine. Mine was better. If you believe loyalty matters more than money, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment saying I choose loyalty if you'd never betray someone chasing your dreams. And if you can't stand people like Jacob who stab their friends in the back, leave a comment, real friends don't betray. Share this story so others know. Sometimes the universe rewards patience and punishes betrayal exactly when it needs to.